Um, As a preliminary matter, this is Brian Sullivan, the Chair of the Affordable Housing Trust. Permit me to confirm that all members in person anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Brooke Moore,
Here.
Christy Ferrantella,
Here.
Rima Sherry,
Here.
Allison Mitchell,
Here.
and I'm obviously talking Brian Sullivan, so I'm here. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tucker Holland,
Here.
Ken Bogram,
Present.
and Eleanor Antonetti.
Here.
Anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. Vicky Marsh, Town Council.
Here.
Julie Fitzgerald, attorney for seller. Don't see Julie. Okay. Stephen Cohen, attorney for Nantucket Housing Authority.
Housing Nantucket.
Oh, excuse me, Housing Nantucket. Forgive me. Thank you, Ann. Arthur Reed, we discussed he's maybe double booked. Billy Cassidy
I'm here.
and Ann Kuspa.
Here.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
And wait, you forgot Howard. Wasn't Howard?
I don't see him listed on it, but I'm happy
Oh, you're
to.
right. You're right. I'm sorry. I just saw him in there, but you're right.
Okay.
Sorry about
We have
that.
we have another a handful of other members here, but those are what I've listed on the agenda.
Sorry about that.
The open meeting of the Nantucket Affordable Housing Trust is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings. And as such, the order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. For this meeting, the Nantucket Affordable Housing Trust is convening by video conference via the Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note the meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, be aware that other folks may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All materials that have been provided to members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda for this public meeting. And before we do so, permit me to cover the ground rules for an effective and clear conduct of our business to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members and registered participants, inviting each by name to provide any further comment or questions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your microphone or your phone when you are not speaking. Please speak clearly. That one got me. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. Members wish to engage in conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. After panelists or members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak, please state their name and be acknowledged to speak through the chair. So, well, with that, I'll be looking for item number 2 on the agenda for an approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Christy and second by, I think I saw Brooke raise her hand.
Second, yeah.
By roll call, Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Allison Mitchell,
Aye.
Rima Sherry,
Aye.
Christy Ferrantella,
Aye.
and Brian Sullivan, aye.
Brian,
Yes.
Brian, excuse me. Can you ask the person who's titled JAV to identify themselves, please?
Yes, please. JAV, would you please identify for us?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes. My name is Jerry Vigil. I live at 14 Waydale Road.
Great. Thank you, Jerry. Okay, so moving to item number 3, approval of the minutes from February 2nd, 2021. Any commentary on the minutes?
I have an edit.
Okay, Christie?
On page 10.
Wait a
I
minute,
might-
please, can you wait just 1 second? I need to pull them up because it's, if you don't mind, just give me
That's
2
fine.
seconds. Thank you. Okay. Okay, go ahead, page 10.
Yes, I might have misspoken, but I said that we had the small work group and we were requesting 475,000 and an override article. That should be a debt exclusion.
Wait, what page of the minutes? Because I can't do it from the packet. I have to go from the actual minutes. So
Okay. In the
Sorry.
minute, it's page 3 and it's kind of halfway down.
okay, so page 3,
The paragraph starts with Christy Farentella explains.
that she, Tucker, Brian, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
That one?
Yes.
Okay, so,
So the fourth line, it says a budget of 475 and an override article. That should be a debt exclusion article.
okay, I thought I actually listened to it, but I'll take your word for it. Okay, so it should say budget of 475K and a debt exclusion article.
Yes.
Looks good.
Thank you.
Sure. So as amended, in other words. So whoever makes the motion, we should do as amended.
Are there any other board comments? Rima?
No, I was just going to make the motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Great. Is there a
No.
second?
This is Brooke. I'll second.
Great. By roll call, Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Allison Mitchell,
Aye.
Rima Sherry,
Aye.
Christie Farentella,
Aye.
and Brian Sullivan, aye. Item number 4, we have a request from Housing Nantucket, NHA Properties regarding 31 Fairgrounds Road. Tucker, I will deliver to you to kind of work our way through the different people who have been listed to discuss and present.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. We are excited to be here. As the board knows, we have been working on several different projects with regard to the deployment of the 25 million. And this is the first that we are able to bring to you all for hopefully final approval today in order to be closing on this transaction tomorrow. I'll just give a brief overview and then I will introduce Ann Kuspa, the Executive Director of Housing Nantucket, as well as Billy Cassidy, the builder for this project, as well as Vicki Marsh, Town Council, part-time, superhero, all the time. So, in brief, in a brief overview, the board is familiar with the location of 31 Fairgrounds Road. This property and project, I think, caught the attention of everyone in the housing world when Mr. Cassidy boldly went where folks have not gone before in putting forward, we think, an extremely thoughtful plan for that location with the planning board. And out of that came the collaboration to not only see that this project is happening, but that indeed, if it is, that it is going to serve the year-round community exclusively. And so we are very happy to be partnering with Housing Nantucket to see this project through as the developer and then manager of the project. All units will be income restricted at a tier of income levels. We think it's very important that this serve a mixed income range. As we know, folks at year-round folks at every level struggle to find good, suitable, stable housing on the island. And this will serve folks in the range between 30% AMI and 200% AMI. A further element of this, of course, is that it will count on our SHI list and potentially, be a contributor to a safe harbor period, which is also an important consideration. So again, I'll keep my remarks brief right now, but very excited to be here. You have a team of folks who are ready to answer questions, and I will let Ann take it from there.
And before you jump, Tucker, I just want to clarify, this is our second deployment of funds from the $20 million, the first being Orange Street.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is the second, but there are others, as the board knows, also still
coming.
Very much coming soon. Thank you.
Ann?
Hello, everybody. My name's Ann Cuspa. I'm the Director of Housing Nantucket. And we are just so excited and thrilled to have this opportunity to partner with you all, and as well as the local developer, Billy Cassidy. This, just to be clear, this is a rental housing project. So it's 22 rental housing units at the tiered income levels, 100% deed restricted, 100% for year-round residents of Nantucket. The rents will be affordable, meaning by formula, basically based on an income size and bedroom size, 1 to 3 bedroom units in this development. And we're just so excited by the whole story. The sellers have been amazing. It's a family where the property's been in their family for years, and the Coffin sisters have been looking for the right development to happen at this place, and we're so excited that they chose us. So we're really excited to get started on this. So thank you for hearing, and I'd love to hear any questions that I might be able to help answer.
Great, thank you, Ann. And I believe Tucker mentioned Billy might have a comment, Mr. Cassidy.
You're muted, Billy, if you're trying to talk to us.
Thank you, Ann. I didn't want to say it. Okay, let's assume that he might be away from his microphone at the moment. And when he comes back, we'll have him.
I think I'm right here.
Oh, there you are. Okay, great.
And I heard everything that you said. I really don't have anything to add beyond what Tucker and Ann said. This whole thing is very exciting. I would like to suggest that it is really it's been a terrific collaboration with some unique individuals along the way. And it's just one of these things that I think is going to be terrific. The person that has not been mentioned that really was instrumental in the beginning of this with help navigating the Flex development program and what was possible there is Andrew Vorse. And for those of you who don't know Andrew or whatever, he has been a real treasure quietly throughout this. But in addition to that, or by contrast, I should say, Emily Molden early on at the Land Council was very supportive of this, as long as it was heading in the direction of where we find ourselves today. So there were some strange partnerships and not agreements, but just collaboration, I suppose, and that's really it. But Sully, I would also like to thank you personally. You called me a long time ago. We had a brief conversation about developing another piece of property. And anyway, there we are. And here we are. That's all I have to say, and thank you.
Thank you, Billy. Tucker, I'll come back to you. I'm assuming maybe we'll be looking to Vicky to kind of go over some documents.
Yeah, I'll let Vicky just speak briefly to the documents that you all have before you.
You're on mute still.
Thank you. I just want to echo what Ian and Tucker and Billy have said. This has been a really nice project to work on, and the people, all of you that have been involved, and all of the attorneys, Arthur and Stephen, have, it's really been a pleasure to work with all of you to get this project to where we are today. It's really rewarding to see this finally come to fruition. So I just want to say that, we've drafted a number of documents that have been posted, and they're there for your review. The deed is there, certainly, that will run to NHA Properties. We've had a title exam done on the property, and title insurance commitments have been issued for this transaction. And then we've also come to agreements with NHA Properties and with Billy's limited liability company to be able to develop, to build the property. So there's a memorandum of agreement. There is a promissory note, a mortgage and security agreement. There is a grant and loan agreement on record, and an affordable housing restriction also that's been posted. And then there is a land development agreement with NHA and with Fairgrounds Common for the construction of the property. So if anyone has any questions, I'm certainly available to answer them. They've all been reviewed. The documents that have been posted have been, there are a few minor tweaks that have been made since then, but nothing that is substantial and material to any changes that were in the documents. So I think that, for the most part, these are the documents as we agreed. And if you have any questions, I'm certainly available to answer.
Great, thank you, Vicky. I think at this point, I'll look to the board to see if there are questions for any of the panelists.
Quinn from
Brooke?
Fisher, we spoke earlier today.
I would ask that
The potential tenant we've got is very interesting.
someone
In
unmuted.
location.
It might be in my background, and I apologize.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, I'm easily distracted. Tucker, would you mind just running through the components, the structure of this deal, like in terms of the pieces of the puzzle as they come together with the grant, the loan, just like a quick executive summary, I think for the public to understand how we put this whole thing together would be really helpful.
Sure. Thank you very much, Brooke. Yeah, putting it fairly simply, there is in total 10.35 million associated with this project. 3.6 million of that is a grant to Housing Nantucket for the acquisition of the property where the units are to be constructed. The 6,750,000 is for the construction of the housing. And while the 3.6 million is a grant, the 6.75 million is structured as a long-term loan with a 50-year maturity and nominal interest associated with this. Obviously, all parties, want to make this a big success, and obviously a part of that is making the numbers work. And so we've worked very closely with Anne and with the developer, with Mr. Cassidy, on the numbers for this. Can I add to that, or does that answer the question?
Go ahead, Brooke.
I think the most important piece of this that I think the public needs to understand is that our subsidy, as in like to use the word donation, is $3.6 million. That's and the remainder is a loan that will be returned back to the trust to be reinvested in future affordable housing projects. So I think that's an important element of this, that more than about 2/3 of this total project cost will be available for future reinvestment in affordable housing efforts. So the structure of this is, from that point of view, helps with the sustainability of our community's investment in affordable housing. So I wanted to make that point.
Go ahead, Tucker.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Yeah, just further to that, as the board knows, from the work of the Neighborhood First Advisory Committee, I think one of the things that we have tried to think about is having this 25 million do as much good as possible with regard to housing for the year-round community. And so it's really through this collaboration with Housing Nantucket, and I would add the Mr. Cassidy to that not only is it going to, is this, a portion of the Neighborhood First and I should mention CPC funds are going to this project. Not only are they going to do, something good and significant out of the gate, but because of the way that everyone is working together, they're going, the majority of the funds are going to get to work again to create even more housing, in the future. So we really feel this is a win all the way around.
On that note, I'll just say the simple back of the envelope math is the per unit cost going into the deal is $470,000. But at the time the loan's paid off, the per unit cost is down to $163,000, which is pretty incredible for a low figure as we look at a long-term solution. So well done by those involved.
And it would not be possible without all, the involvement of everyone here who I just mentioned. And the subject of parties involved, not necessarily so much on the financial side, but in talking about parties that are involved with the project, the land bank has agreed to hold the conservation restriction, which is a requirement of doing a flex development. And so, we are appreciative of their role in this project as well.
Christy, did I see you motion? Yep. Floor for you.
Thank you. I was just going to mention, I think this is really a win-win in terms of affordable housing. When this proposal was put forward, it was for year-round housing. And, I just think what better way to have more year-round housing than for it to be affordable. So kudos to everybody who put this together. It's really a win for our community, and it's great to hear all the different players with the land bank and Housing Nantucket. So thank you to everybody that has been working on this.
I'll look to other board members, raise a hand or have a comment. Seeing, Brooke.
Sorry, in the parade of thank yous, I also want to give a shout out to the planning board for their vision in using the flex development in this creative way in terms of the layout of this project as well, and the fact that it will help us achieve nearly a year of the equivalent of a year of safe harbor when it falls in line with that. So, I mean, an amazing cross-community collaboration. I'll just say the same thing over again.
Thank you, Brooke. Just 1 minute, Mr. Dickler. I'm just going to ask if there's any of the panelists that would like to comment before I go to the general public. Okay, seeing none, Mr. Dickler.
To add to the thank yous, I think everybody should acknowledge the tremendous hard work that Ken and Tucker and Eleanor and everybody concerned put into this project. It wouldn't have happened without them.
Thank you very much for noting them. I'll open the floor to general public questions and comments. I saw in the chat, Mr. Vigil, you wanted an opportunity.
Yes, thank you very much. The first question I have is, how does this development align itself with the mission statement of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund? As far as I understand, the overall mission statement for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund is to purchase properties scattered throughout the island.
It's the creation, the mission is the creation of affordable housing. And so whether it is newly constructed, pre-existing, to be developed, it is the creation of units that will have a shy restriction and create housing as defined by the state as affordable, which this project will, with the restriction document that Vicky defined is part of the legal paperwork.
My next question is, right now there's approximately $20 million allocated to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and of which it appears that you're going to take about half of this for this project. Wouldn't it be more appropriate to allocate funds for the purchase of the property and have the developer self-fund his work? So you could utilize the monies to buy other properties, such as the Orange Street property that you've already said that you're going forward with that?
So the Orange Street property is a different project with an RFP. Will be going out in the not so far future on kind of a development plan there. With this project, we're granting $3.6 million, which is the expenditure of the 20 million, and the other portion is a loan, which will be paid back over time.
Right, but does that loan tax your fund? Does it tax the Affordable Trust Fund, Housing Trust Fund?
In the near term, yes.
So how can you move forward with other developments if your fund has been vastly diminished?
We are continuously looking for other revenue opportunities to help replenish the fund. There are multiple funding articles at this year's meeting.
Okay, so
Or this year's town's meeting.
As it stands now, you really don't have a pathway for additional funds other than hoping that they will be passed in the town meeting, if I worded that correctly.
Between the budget the town puts forward and additional funding mechanisms that are requested by a town meeting, you are correct.
Okay, so how do you guarantee the long-term commitment to the LLC to abide by all the precepts that they're bound by now?
So that becomes a legal question that I'm not prepared to answer. So I'll ask Vicky if you can address that within the documents you've delivered.
Certainly. So we've given, NHA has agreed to sign a promissory note for the amount of money that is being loaned to them. We also have security on the property in the form of a mortgage. So in the event that for unforeseen reasons, this property is not able to come to fruition, the trust would have an ability to foreclose on this property or have the property deeded back to the trust. So there are ways to protect the money that is being loaned to NHA, and the grant of the money is an investment in property which will remain. So, I mean, if the property ended up having to come back to the town or the trust, the value of the property is still there. So I think that the investment is protected. There is also a grant and a loan agreement that NHA has signed to cover it. And what's very important, and we always have to keep in mind, is that the town is also going to get an affordable housing restriction on this property in perpetuity. So this property can never be developed for other purposes. And that in and of itself presents a great value to the town.
Okay, I have another question about
Just-
how,
Just one moment, Mr. Vigil. Christie, did you want to have a follow-up to that?
I can wait until he's
Okay.
asked all the questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Vigil?
okay, so how does this whole activity with the Affordable Trust, Housing Trust Fund affect other agencies, like, for instance, any of the decisions future decisions that will be made, for instance, by the Nantucket Historical Commission, and any changes that may be required by different agencies such as the planning board and other entities that may be involved?
I'm not sure where to direct that question. Tucker or Vicky, could I have a little help with that? There you go.
Am I muted? No.
No, you're good.
Okay. I mean, the plans and the specifications for this project will have to go before the Historic District Commission for approval. So that is, one place that we'll need approval from. We will also need approval, if we do any work with the lots at all, possibly before the planning board. But in addition, this project will also get reviewed by the Department of Housing and Community Development, DHCD, to make sure that this project will meet all the requirements for affordability. So this project is going to have a lot of review and a lot of approvals that are going to be needed before we can actually complete the project. But it is being reviewed by other entities, both state and local. I don't know if
Thank you,
that answers
Vicky.
your question.
Ken, did you have a comment? No?
No, Vicky answered the way I was going to answer it.
Great, thank you.
So if that's the case, if there are significant changes, how does that affect the agreement that's going presented today?
Well, I guess I'm not sure what you're looking for.
Well, for instance, if the HCC or even the planning board come back and say, well, we need a complete redesign, how does that affect the loan agreement and the grant agreement?
Well, the agreements are still in place. This project is not going to be constructed until we get plans and specs that have been approved. So there is an initial disbursement, and then after that, there aren't any other disbursements until we're able to actually start, constructing the units. So we do need these approvals, and we still have to go, like I said before, HDC and DHCD. No project, you can't determine whether any project is not going to have some kind of change or proposed change. And it's up to, the parties involved to be able to make a presentation that these plans and specifications meet any of the requirements in order to construct this project. Does that answer your question? I'm not sure.
Well, it does in a sense, but who has oversight over the decision making for further disbursements? Does it go before the town meeting, or do the voters have anything to say with this?
No, the trust is actually, these funds are actually for the trust to disperse. And so what happens is we have a disbursement schedule, and the land development agreement has a disbursement schedule that's attached to it. And in order for any future disbursements other than the initial disbursements to be made, the builder will have to meet certain milestones in order to have a disbursement. And that would be something like, the construction of the units, or the plumbing has been completed, or the roof is completed, things like that. So as the project goes along, the disbursements are made.
Okay, so I understand. So in layman's terms, your organization is basically the clerk of the works and they decide how the disbursement goes. Is that, do I understand it correctly?
No,
I-
no, there is a disbursement schedule that
Okay.
we have to abide by,
Okay.
so that we've agreed to. So that's what governs it. So as the work is completed, then the disbursements are made. And they also have to be, so for instance, if it's for certain work like a plumbing or electrical work, that has to be inspected and approved by the inspectors for the town. And at that point, then the disbursements are made. So we have to make sure that the work is done in accordance with, town requirements.
So what happens if there's cost overruns? Like for instance, when they built the big dig, it was allocated $1 billion, but it ended up 10 billion.
So Anne, do you want to speak to the arrangement that you have with the builder?
And the floor is
Sure.
yours.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Vicky.
Sure, I'll speak to that. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you very much, Jerry, Mr. Vigil, because I can tell you've really thought about this project, and I really like to have all of this out in the public, because this is kind of what we've been doing for the past 2 months or even more, thinking through all of these intricacies that you're speaking of. So first I want to answer that question, and then I want to speak to another thing that you had said before, if it's okay. But your question about what if there are cost overrides over, in excess of what we have. Well, basically, we have an agreement with the developer, Billy Cassidy, we have plans and specs and drawings and everything, and it's a fixed price that we have with him, and Billy can speak more to that if he would like, but it's a turnkey development minus furnishings, which we didn't want anyway. So that's where we're coming. That's one of the beautiful things about this project, is that it's being offered to us turnkey. So I hope that helps with your question.
Okay, so another question I have, these are public funds, correct? Okay, so as they are public funds, I would think that all the construction would have to abide by the public bidding laws in a sense of prevailing wage rates for the workers and the work that's done there. Is that correct?
No. So let me talk a little. I'm sorry, Brian. Would you like?
And I'd love to give that to Vicky if she would. I don't have anybody from procurement here, but Vicky, I think probably.
So, this project is not being constructed by the town or the trust. We are funding a project to a private nonprofit entity. So, we're not actually having this project designed for us. We didn't have any input into the plans or the design or the materials. This is totally a project that has been designed, between the builder, Mr. Cassidy, and NHA Properties. So no, it's not being built for the town.
So I understand that, but still, because there's public funds involved, I would think it would be appropriate that prevailing wages would prevail.
It's not being built though for the town. This is a project that, although we are supporting this project with funding, this is actually being built as a project for between a nonprofit and the builder.
I understand that, but as a public agency, don't you have to abide by the public laws?
To be honest, I'd have to go and look at it further for you, because you're asking a more specific question than I'm prepared to answer right now. So I'd be happy to respond to you to look at it.
Jerry, if I could request, if you do have a follow-up on that question, to just put it in writing and send it to Tucker Holland and Vicky.
Okay.
I'd be happy to address it. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Jerry, if I could give any other members of the public an opportunity to speak, or any of the other panelists. Okay, I'm seeing no other. Oh, Christy.
Thank you. I just wanted to expand on one of the questions Jerry had, and I also wanted to kind of say the same thing Anne said, that we really appreciate the questions and the public process and making sure that we're fleshing out all these questions, and it really helps to have the public engagement. In terms of the Affordable Housing Trust goal and mission and how this relates, we're all for affordable housing around the island, and part of this funding comes from Neighborhood First, and that funding was specifically to get a year of safe harbor. And when that was proposed, it was the $20 million for 1 year, and we're doing almost as many units as 1 year of safe harbor with half those funds. So we're really doing our fiduciary responsibility of expanding those funds to get as many affordable housing units as possible, given the limitations that we have with the expense of building on Nantucket. So I think this is really a win-win situation where we're doing as much as we can with the amount of funds that we have available. So I just wanted to expand on that a little bit more. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Christy. Any more questions or commentary?
Well, I just want to make a closing statement, and one of them is if
just so everybody knows, this is Mr. Vigil.
If there's an adage in construction business to say, if you build, they will come. So what that means is that, like you take, for instance, with developments, roadways, talking about rebuilding the Bourne and Sagamore bridges, more people are going to come. And I think in a general sense, the town needs to, and all of us, soul search and understand that we have a responsibility as citizens of the Commonwealth and Nantucket to try to preserve the fragility of the island as it's, and there's a lot involved here, and that should be of paramount importance with in your decision-making process. Our water is being attacked right now, and God forbid if something happens, what has happened out at the airport. And that's my concern as a citizen. And I just want to also say that I don't just represent myself. I represent my neighborhood. I talk to all my neighbors, and one of them is at the meeting today, Bo, and they know. I've talked to her husband Pia today and yesterday, and talking to other people, and I just want to know that it's just not me, but I'm sort of the unofficial spokesperson for all of us. So
Thank you, Mr. Vigil.
I think we all want the same thing. We all want to have some kind of plan that works for the island, and I think we all have to keep that in sight and keep it as a major responsibility that we go forward with that in sight. And I want to thank you for all the time you've given me.
Our pleasure to give you the time, and thank you for the time that you're giving us. I don't know if you know this, but we are working on the next 5-year plan. It's called the Housing Production Plan. We're working on that now. And there are actually focus groups that are happening, not as we speak, but over the course of the next week to 10 days. Tucker, if there's any availability, if we could invite Mr. Vigil to participate so he could share his voice there as well, it'd be great.
It's a great thought, Mr. Chair. Unfortunately, the focus groups themselves are full, the remaining ones, but I can let the consultants know that perhaps they could make some outreach to Mr. Vigil.
And maybe we can get him the at minimum the survey to take and for his to share with others in his neighborhood.
Oh, absolutely. When he sends his questions to Vicki and I will send him the survey back. And or Eleanor, if you have Mr. Vigil's email, if you send that to me, I'll get it to him, immediately following this meeting. I think there's a lot of sensitivity to some of Mr. Vigil's remarks, and I think one of the things that that as the trust knows, we are working on projects, that fit within existing zoning, and this is, one of the projects that does that. So we are very conscious of doing things that fit into the character of the surrounding neighborhood, which I think is really a principle of Neighborhood First.
Thank you, Tucker. I'll make one more call for questions, comments, and then I'll look for a motion.
Just one last thing. I just like
It's just for the record, it's Mr. Vigil speaking. Go ahead, Mr. Vigil.
In the Orange Street project, it was noted as a car-free project. I don't know of any person at any socioeconomic status in the island that doesn't have a car. So that should be a big point, is traffic and parking, as it was in development of this plan.
Thank you. Forgive me, it's Mr. Little? Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Bob Little, member of the Housing Nantucket Board. I would say thrilled is an understatement. Our board of directors met earlier this afternoon with unanimous support. The collaborative spirit along the journey has been absolutely remarkable. And we want to thank here for really great opportunity for our year-round community. And the collaborative spirit is something that you can feel in your gut. And as a fellow builder, I will say working with Billy on the details has been very open, very honest, incredibly forthright. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Little. So seeing no more commentary, I'll look for a motion, and I believe Brooke.
So I will make the following motion. Moved that we authorize and approve the expenditure
Slowly,
of the sum of.
please.
Oh, hey.
Really slowly.
Eleanor, I can send this to you.
Yeah, I can type fast. Just talk.
Okay,
no.
okay. So moved that we authorize and approve the expenditure of a sum of money not to exceed $10,350,000 of the Town of Nantucket Affordable Housing Trust funds appropriated by the votes of Article 28 and Article 37 at the 2019 annual town meeting as follows, : a grant of $3,600,000 for the purchase of the land at 31 Fairgrounds Road, Nantucket by NHA Properties, Inc., and a loan of no more than $6,750,000 to be secured by a mortgage granted by NHA Properties, Inc. to the Town of Nantucket Affordable Housing Trust Fund on said property for the construction of affordable housing units eligible for the Town of Nantucket's subsidized housing inventory in exchange for a perpetual affordable housing restriction on said property to be held by the Town of Nantucket, and further to execute any documents necessary to effectuate the funding for the acquisition of said property and the construction and use of the housing units for affordable housing purposes, and any closing documents as may be required for said property acquisition, and further to authorize Brian Sullivan, the chair, and Brooke S. Moore, the vice chair, to execute on behalf of the Board of Trustees any and all documents as authorized herein.
Thank you, Brooke. Is there any conversation on the motion? I'll look for a second. Second from Rima Sherry.
I happily second that motion.
And by roll call, Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Rima Sherry,
Aye.
Christy Ferrantella,
Aye.
Allison Mitchell,
Aye.
and Brian Sullivan, aye. Congratulations, Housing on Nantucket. I see a lot of golf clapping. There we go. Thank you.
Congratulations to you guys. I think this is going to be really, really neat. And thanks.
I agree, Billy. Fantastic.
Thank you for the kind words, Bob. Agreed.
Earned them.
Okay, gonna come back to our next item on the agenda. Feel free to stick with us or drop off if that was your item. We have item number 5, financial discussion. This continues to carry from meeting to meeting. Tucker, I don't know if you want to update an item here or just
Yes.
keep it riding. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we briefly wanted to update the board following the planned discussion last night at the select board meeting of the housing articles. I think it was around 9:30 p.m. that the select board, when we got to this topic, said, well, maybe we're not going to go too deep into a bigger housing discussion. However, at that juncture, however, they did end up voting on the inclusion on the warrant of the $475,000 operating budget, as well as the $7.5 million debt exclusion towards safe harbor maintenance. So I believe that they are going to have a more fulsome discussion about all of the different housing articles at a future meeting, and at that point we would be back for discussion and presentation, if you will. But I will let Christy add anything she would like to that report.
Great, thank you, Tucker. Christy?
Thank you. I think Tucker covered it all. The board unanimously supported, it was 3-1. The 475 budget line in the general fund, and then the $7.5 million debt exclusion to be on the warrant. And we're hoping to have Brooke and Tucker come back in a few weeks to talk about all the different funding sources that are available at this year's town meeting.
Great. Thank you, Christy. Tucker, it would make sense that we should probably have a similar presentation meeting here at one of our following meetings along the same vein.
Yep. I think just a slight clarification, and Christy, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was, the board was only 4 members at 9:30. And so I believe that all 4 members supported the 475, but it was 3-1 on the 7.5 debt exclusion.
You're probably correct. I'm still a little tired.
I could be completely wrong.
That's how I remember it as well. The last minute lingerers last night.
Thank you.
I am impressed with the schedule you keep, Christy. I don't know how you do it. And Tucker and Brooke, because you were there as well. Okay, great. Any more on that? Or we'll continue to roll that to the next meeting?
So, I mean, just as everyone knows, we have a meeting on Tuesday. So I don't know if you're thinking then or at a meeting after that. So the next, well, I think the next subject here is our next meeting after Tuesday. And presently folks have on their calendar, we had scheduled a special meeting, if you will, March 2nd, and the housing consultants for the HPP have requested a meeting with the trust on March 9th, a week later. So I might suggest that rather than meet on the 2nd, we plan to meet on the 9th, if that works for everyone in their schedule. Same, so a Tuesday at 1 o'clock, 1 week later.
So I'm seeing head shaking and thumbs up that will work for the members that are here. So if we could make those adjustments to scratch the 2nd, keep the 9th, or put the 9th on. And then on that agenda, we can work through the various Sunday funding articles proposed at town meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Tucker.
What is the time, Tucker? Because the Real Estate Advisory Committee has a meeting on that date at 2 o'clock.
We would schedule for 1 p.m., Ken.
Okay.
We can keep it short. Or try.
Why is Eleanor laughing?
Because she knows nothing's ever short. Okay. So I think we just closed financial discussion. We covered next meeting in other business. Is there any other business not listed? Seeing no motions. Public comment not otherwise on the agenda. Are there any members of the public that would like to have the floor to make a comment? Or I don't know how to check the little hand waves, but I'm not seeing any mics go off or any faces or hand waves. So
I don't see any.
okay.
Let me double check. Nope.
So we'll close public comment, move to board comments. Is there any board comments? I'm seeing none from other members. I'll take the moment and just say an incredibly exciting day. Thank everybody for the years of hard work to get us here. It's nice to see a long road arriving somewhere. So then that's everybody who's participated. There's been a lot of people. So.
Yeah, I would, if I could add, Mr. Chair,
please talk.
Just to what Mr. Little, was saying earlier, it's been a really great collaboration with everybody involved, and we're only at the beginning, but we're off on the right foot here, and very excited. So thank everybody.
Yep. Brooke, you want to take a moment?
I'm gonna do one more shout out because Mr. Dickler's here to the Neighborhood First Advisory Committee that labored for 18 months to interpret the warrant articles that were presented to us from town meeting and to determine the strategies and priorities for the expenditure of the $20 million under that article. And that's helped guide us to this project. And I'll just state again for the record that warrant article sent us with several directives that included keeping us in safe harbor under Chapter 40B as a high priority. And this project falls within that. And so anyway, it falls squarely within the strategies outlined by the Neighborhood First Advisory Committee. So.
Great. Thanks, Brooke. Ken?
Just one comment. Tucker was sharing with me that the group that met at the property on Saturday had a fantastic experience with a representative of the owners of the property. And what is really exciting from my point of view is that here's a situation where a family that's owned the property for many, many generations, in fact, is really excited about what we as a community, what the trust and what Ian and Housing Nantucket are going to do with their property in terms of shaping it as a significant part of the development of addressing the needs of year-rounders here on the island.
Awesome. Anne, you missed public comment, but I'll give you a moment in board comment. Go right ahead.
Thank you. I just want to thank everybody also. We're just so excited. I can't even take it. But make sure if you don't follow us on social media, Instagram and Facebook, we're rolling out this story that Ken's talking about, and we're going to follow it the whole way too. So we got a lot of exciting things planned. So
awesome.
Stay tuned. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for taking on the hard work. Awesome.
Are we ready for a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman?
So I'm looking for a motion to adjourn into executive session, if you would.
Okay, so a motion to adjourn the open meeting to go into executive session, not to return to open meeting for the purpose of considering the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property where an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Allison Mitchell, and by roll call, Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Rima Sherry,
Aye.
Christy Ferrantella,
Aye.
Allison Mitchell,
Aye.
and Brian Sullivan, aye. Great. Thanks, everybody. We'll jump on the other link.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
Mr. Dickler.
Thanks,
Bye,
Howard.
Bye, Dave. Bye, Jerry. Thank
We
you.
have-
Bye, Susan.
Can we have like 2 minutes?
Yes, of course.
I've been in a meeting since 1. I need to breathe.